that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this video where I once again want to discuss the beloved topic, or the illumined union, as you know I love to talk about so much. So from word of mouth to practical embodiment, and this is actually going to be the main topic of today's video. I want to really talk about what does it mean to really be in unity consciousness, first of all, because I notice a lot of distortion of what is apparently unity consciousness. Because when we talk about the Vesica Pisces, or the beloved union symbol of divine creation, or the law of polarity, we actually talk about the union of two wholes, not two halves, which means that two sovereign individuals come as a meeting space that reflects the meeting space of the inner beloved, the masculine and feminine polarity within, when that is truly whole and complete. So when a unity concept is false, which means it's not yet properly understood and balanced within ourselves, we will often tend to act from a circle that's not yet complete and project that into what we call the unity. So I want to share a recent experience of mine that really reflects this falsehood, or a false reflection of what divine union, which is the infinite creation within that union that expands from the core, which is the Vesica Pisces symbol. And then how do we make that illumined instead of really not understood properly, which I call the false unity concept, which is in many cases, you know, when people are not yet matured in their soul evolutionary journey, or the maturation of their soul, they will often project an idea of unity or an idea of oneness that doesn't really come from true oneness. So it comes from a concept, it's something they've learned, it's something they understand at a current level of embodiment, but it's not yet illumined, okay? So the thing with soul maturity is there's many steps from awakening first and then reaching a level of full illumination. And the problem is, you know, many masters and yogis say, or the challenge comes when we think we're there, but we're not. So, you know, to embrace the harmonious alignment of the divine human self, which means that we understand and embrace the human factor just as much we understand divine nature of who we are, so that the human factor can harmoniously align with our divine nature and embody properly, instead of we're always in this confused state and we think we're always living our sovereign divine guidance, but we have to find the blind spots when this is not always so. So my recent example is that this week someone came here to my village where I live and invited and I have nothing against people coming here to, you know, see nature. This is a free village, as all planet is free. Anyone can come if they're inspired, you know, through my videos, through my postings, but it's a small village. And when someone comes, not because of nature, but because of me, and because they want to increase their potentiality of meeting me, that's not really coming within the respect of my privacy and knowing what's my private life, my private space, and what's my work. So, you know, this is where the idea of unity gets distorted. This is where I know who you are, I resonate with what you do, and I'm, you know, just going to do my action, follow my heart, and come where you are to meet you. You know, it's almost like I find a celebrity that I like, and I find out where they live, and I start to stalk them and increase my potentials to meet them. It's kind of like that. And I say, well, it's unity consciousness, it's all free. So this is where we don't yet understand the free will concept and how much the unity, or the union of the 1 + 1, which is what actually the individual was talking to me about. You know, they wanted to make sure if I'm their +1, so they just, you know, followed their hunches, and it's all well and fine, and yet it isn't on the other concept, you know, because we have to see how this is truly going against the nature of what truly is a respectful, illumined approach to life, where we don't act with this drive, this driving force, you know, and we talk about synchronicity. That example is not synchronicity. It is a well-planned strategic alignment, which is not the same as divine synchronicity. And I want to talk about how do we really come into awareness of, through that example I want to show you, what is true mirroring program of source. Because remember, last year in summer I read Sanat Kumara books. They were beautiful channelings, and he explained how the basic program of source is mirroring. It's reflecting. It's pure mirroring. It's I see what I get, and it comes through that neutral alignment. It comes through that being the blank slate. It's that utmost refinement of what we can become in our divine human potential. On the other hand, when there's still pieces of will driving us, we won't always see that, and we'll say, well, it was divine guidance. Well, I can say for many things that, well, it was divine guidance, and yet it was not. So the key here in our maturity of the soul is to first realize what are the notions, how does spirit guide us. And as you know, I've created these mastery, self-mastery attunements through these mastery courses that help to align you with the greater understanding what is truly spirit guidance and what is just ego. And you know, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of discernment, see and tell the difference where we're acting out of fear or projection, and where we're truly acting out of the pure source mirroring program or concept, which is divine. It's not a mental or artificial concept. So on the other hand, we have a lot of projecting, and this is where I've had not just one recent experience, but I've had many. I've had people inviting themselves to my space, wanting to meet me. Some failed, some stalked me, some succeeded. And the thing is, each person truly got what they needed in that moment. But I want to now talk about how that situation, beyond what was taking place there personally, how it showed me this deeper alignment with this, what I call a true illumined divine union and a twin soul mirroring concept, which our DNA can now start to embrace. And we can invite that natural organic alignment of the beloved synchronization instead of following the path of worrying, right? So the person said to me, if I have only one chance in my life, and you know, I'm going to try and do this. But on the other hand, see where the problem is. The person did not consider that I have zero knowledge of who they are. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they come from. I don't know anything. So when a person is this exposed as I am, and everyone knows where they live, people can start getting ideas, as you know, in their heads. And I've had many such examples. But here is one good example to share with you how we can recognize the false understanding of free will, and how free will first, as well, divine law, needs to be understood first personally within ourselves, and what is truly free will when it comes to the other individual, when it comes to the union with the other, with another, with someone you're looking as a counterpart in that moment. So when you say, I'm going to decide to do that, follow my hunch, follow my heart, the head, doesn't matter, just follow that gut and come and do this without, you know, any consideration of what that action truly represents. And when you do that, you know, the other who is unaware of that has no choice, right? So I'm here in the space of not knowing. I have zero choice of whether I want to receive that individual in my personal life or not. You know, and it's one thing for people who want to come for retreats because they know that's my work, and it's the other for people who want to become a part of my personal life in some way and say, well, I didn't come for that. Well, listen, you know, either way, you can't, you know, create a relationship out of your own will, out of your own projection. This is the problem here, and this is what people are not seeing. And I've witnessed a lot of people who confuse that for unity. So unity means I'm guided by this source, I can do whatever I want. But when it comes to the other person, it is not that way. So you, as a creator of your own reality, as your own twin soul reflection, you can create anything that you desire in that moment until that moment or that correspondence aligns with what the other also lives and the reality they are creating. So if they are not allowed to have choice, let's say you kind of fall as an, you know, as an interjection point into the reality, you know, and they're left at the mercy of, whoa, what just took place here? You know, did I create a space of opening? And from a level of, let's say, traditional relationships, this can be understood as normal, right? Oh, yeah, spontaneous, go with the flow, all of that. But this is not what I'm talking about in my videos. I'm talking about illumined union, illumined understanding, and the understanding of truly being guided through life force. So what Spirit showed me quite a while ago is that a space where true beloveds in illumined union meet is a space which I call the blank slate. So imagine two people knowing zero of each other. There is no disharmony there, because it's not like I know data about you. I can come to where you live and I can find out information about you and I resonate with how you are. The other person knows nothing about that. So they have not had the choice whether they want to allow that individual in their private space or not. Okay, so the other one decided on their own they're willing to take the risk, or they're willing to take the chance, or like the person said to me, the masculine energy is supposed to instigate, and this is not the same. This is an excuse. Okay, the masculine and feminine energies need to work through the spiral consciousness. Either way, the spiral consciousness is the life force consciousness of illumination. It's the only principle where life is truly divine, where life is truly guided by divine love, and divine love is already aligned with the law of one. So the law of one, meaning I get to choose this for myself, then how it reflects the other person. If there is no allowance, if the other person does not respond or answer or directly say, yes, please, I invite you into my space, you actually go against the free will when you create that. So from a higher illumined perspective, if you want to master your reality at that level, you're going to have to see where the discrepancy here comes in. You're going to have to use real discernment when you're not just going on a whim and being spontaneous, and that's really an excuse. Okay, you can function on those lower levels if you want to, but if you really want to become master in divine love, you want to become a divine lover of life and understand true merge polarity concept, you're going to have to merge the free will concept within yourself first, so you can step into what we call the greater divine will. And this is when your actions truly will be guided only through the reflection of divine love, which also includes divine respect, divine patience, and wisdom through the experience of life itself. So the key here is, the person said to me, I needed to find out this and what it is and how it feels, or whether you're my plus one, unless I can't, move forward with my life. And you see, again, that is a fixed reality where someone decides and says, if that is like this, and if I don't find out this, that's why I need to come. So this is conditioned love. This is not unconditional love, where your desire is stronger than perhaps the desire of the other. So you decide that you're going to take a chance on that, and either it's a push and pull. It's still a push and pull, you see? And you just go and decide for that. Illumined union, on the other hand, is, like I said, Spirit showing me, is when the beings within themselves become their own perfect reflection, and they drop away any notion of seeking. And that seeking also includes within itself the program of projecting. So how do we return back to that which I call the true twin soul mirroring source consciousness? First of all, of course, within. And I've had many people wanting to come and penetrate into my reality because they somehow felt I have it. And I've had many people who said, you are my twin flame. And they were not my twin flame, because my twin flame, first of all, as the twin soul, is the spirit aspect of me. It's the spirit component which guides me from there, and it's my ultimate divine counterpart. So no one in the physical can say that to me, because I truly know the beloved truth and the core reality for me and how it is. Second of all, people forget to ask questions whether that maybe is a possibility, or maybe if you feel something. But the truth is, you can't feel something if you don't even know the person, if you have zero awareness, you see. So that's why Spirit showed me this reality when beloveds will start to meet at the level of illumined union. And this is the template, as you know, we're creating from the core self, the essence level, the space of this divine neutrality, divine love. These illumined unions take place a little differently, because this is where two people have become blank slates. They've become the vessels. They're not guided by their ego, or this conditional aspect. If I don't do this, then I can't move forward in my life, or if I don't do that, this won't happen. This is not the nature of illumined union. So I understand that people function or exist in different levels of their integration process, but this is not where I am. So if people want to penetrate my space that way, they don't stand a chance, because this is not how I live my life. This is not how I see this fusion within full respect. And people who don't respect that what I do here is not just like scramble, ramble, whatever. It's actually my work, and it's my constant dedication and devotion. If people think, wow, that's just a part of the privacy and I want to invade that, these people have clearly, gotten mixed in their head this concept of unity, and it's just a concept. It's not a reality. So what is real is not always what comes up in our minds. You know, people create these ideas in their heads, and I had this happen so many times in my life. And I was asking Spirit, why is this happening? The first thing was, Spirit said, because you've never actually truly stood up for yourself and really expressed, you know, so you have to learn to stand up in the way to speak your truth, even when someone is right there in front of your face, not just, you know, online or so, when there's intermediaries present. The second thing is, when Spirit showed me, is that this was a pathway for me to teach about this, what is true mirroring concept, it's not a concept, consciousness, okay, versus the concept that we have, which is truly a projection. So when we're not yet whole within our own individualized God self spark, that unity spark, we will always seek for something outside of us, right? The person said to me, I'm seeking for my +1 so that I can start doing my mission or do this and that. First of all, the divine illumined state of the beloveds is when each of them is already an integral sovereign within their mission. They have developed the sovereign mission and they live it fully within themselves. They're not waiting for the other to come to fulfill them, to bring an aspect or piece of the mission for them. They're individualized, core alignment with their through which they're meant to process, you know, this reality and integrate and help, you know, in their own embodiment process in this mission at large. And the second thing is, when it comes to the fusion of the mission, it also can happen if the individuals have not yet mastered their own mission integration, okay? So to go back to the mirroring process, Spirit showed me that the first thing is to, within ourselves, create this vessel space where we learn to act as pure mirrors. Which means if someone comes to me that way, that's again just one example, there's other examples too, and if they come and they intervene, right, in a way, because I had no knowledge of that, I wasn't asked if I have time, if I have space, if, you know, if I even want to see someone, if I'm even ready to, if I'm even doing that, all of these things, right? So the first thing, if that happens, and if I go follow that falsehood, because I'm actually empathizing with the person instead of being in divine compassion. So, you know, empathy means that you're kind of feeling the other people's feelings or impressions or desires. So it becomes a part of your desire because you're reading their energy field, and all the empaths have that. That's why they sometimes feel it's their own feelings, but it's not. It's the other people's feelings. So when the person will go away energetically, you will no longer feel that because it wasn't your desire anyway. So the first thing to do is master your state. This is what I've talked about before, from divine empaths to cosmic conscious empaths, which is like galactic empath, which becomes more of a simply, you're not a sympathizer, you know, as I sympathize with people, you're not a empathizer, you're simply compassionate towards every form of life, but your core, your truth, your inner alignment comes first. So like that example with the stewardess, right, on the plane, what's it called? You first have to, when they teach you, right? You first have to put the mask with the gas, with the oxygen to yourself, so then you can help others. If in that moment, when someone interjects with my reality in that way, and I'm kind of feeling their feelings, and I'm acting like it's okay, they're actually going to create a response that will feed on that projection, which means they're going to, from you, receive an affirmation that that's okay what they're doing. So you're saying, okay, come here, let's do this, let's do that. You know, this can happen, and this is when we have to see the pattern where we still hold the projection energy within ourselves. The other, whatever they do, they're not to blame. No one is. It's always about our inner mastery. How are we responding to those projections ourselves, and how can we then return to the mirroring? Because, you know, it's almost like a mother and a child. If you affirm something that, in a way, you know it's bad, but you want to do it, just, you know, like you have this state of, oh, you know, I want to have him this impression. You have something like a condition you hold within yourself, like an expectation for them, and you want it to materialize, so you're holding the space from a projection level. However, the mirroring program, which is a divine perfection program of source, is however one responds, you respond with that back, because you're showing them themselves in a clear mirror. If you're following the projection with you empathizing with it, you're actually creating not a mirror, you're creating a falsehood. So they're actually receiving more of what they think it's right to do back, and they think, well, it's okay to do that. You know, this is how even sociopaths or psychopaths start to work, because their victims fall into that state of being a victim. So this circle of of two polarities, they haven't come into unified field, they constantly kind of like, you know, push and pull. So it can't break through. The pattern cannot be broken through. So how do we engage within ourselves first, through that mirroring program of source, within our own twin soul nature, through self-love, through that self-acknowledgement, so that we start to develop illumined relationships, illumined relating experiences. When, even if that happens, even if there's a breaking and entering, or someone breaks into your reality that way, which is something you didn't invite into your life, and you haven't created, they've created it, but you're somehow a mirror or tool they're trying to use for their creation to get to a certain point, to a certain understanding, or a certain fixation or an idea of the desire they have, and they might project that towards you. Like I said, in the divine illumined union, there is no such a desire. It's two people, let's say, if they do meet in such a way, it's complete blank slate. No one knows, nothing. They're both equalized in the way they perceive each other. No one says, oh, you're this teacher, I know you from online and this, and the other one's like, who are you? They're clueless, right? Okay, that's just one example, but it doesn't happen that way, because remember that within is always without. So illumined unions do not occur in such a way when someone is projecting in any way, because they within themselves first have become illumined beings, and there is no shortcut to that than us really achieving that state internally first. So to go to the mirroring is, if someone comes to me that way, I have to stay firm. I have to stand firm and first recognizing where they're at, and then not like from the ego say, huh, I will be like this now, or I'll be bossy, or I will be like, ugh, you know, having this what we call false idea of boundaries. It's more just being truthful. It's authentically, truthfully reflecting back that idea. So someone says, I came here, I need a guide, you know, just be here. And you're like, okay, find a guide. You know, it's like there can quickly be a pattern of us following through what they want, through that push and pull, if we're not yet fully in the source mirroring program, and we're still allowing that projection to take place. So if we have guilt, we're going to see, oh, I feel bad for this person coming all this way, driving all this way. You know, this, again, I'm using this as an example. This is not the only example, but because it recently happened in my life, I can use it as a teaching tool, okay? For where people still project, and most of the times they're not willing to accept that consciously. But remember, if you don't accept it, we can't grow forward. It's like each initiation brings the potential for a next unraveling of the spiral, or, you know, if you don't walk through, you're stuck for a while. You're temporarily on hold until you get it, until you get that initiation, what it's about. So to go into that neutralized program of pure reflection, you always have to go back to your source. Okay, they want this, but what do I want? What do I need in this example? Have my needs been heard here? Have I been asked if I would also like this, if I also have this as a preference? The other example is when I said to the person, I'm going here, this hike tomorrow, and they said, oh, I think maybe I'll join that. They didn't ask, can I join that? Would it be okay for me to join that? And again, I see that in a lot of people who are like wanting to force something to happen, and it's very covert sometimes, and people will say, no, I'm just, you know, I'm just being willful, I'm being the creator. You know, the person kept saying to me that they're the creator. We're all creators, but it's how we create. Is it an illumined creation or is it not? There's been many creations that led to destruction. There's been creation in Atlantis that led to destruction. Illumined creation is complete unwinding of the will aspect, the wanting, the needing, that, you know, the conditioned, something that drives you towards something conditionally, and you don't consider the other. So you're always thinking only of what you need and want. Okay, this is not illumined. That's all I'm saying here. So when I go back to really mastering the mirroring template, I will have to feel my inner feminine and masculine self. But imagine, they always birthing the divine child. So let's say someone who's always alone and isolated, their divine child wants to say, but I want to play. So even if it's someone coming that way, you know, at least I have a company here. At least I want to go somewhere, and at least I want to have a drive with someone, enjoy some company. But still, how was that company or that companionship in that moment? How was it created? Did it come from your sovereign principles? Was it sovereign that you have something to say there? Or were you just confronted with, this is it, you know, follow me, do this, you know, I want this from you. And again, you know, the inner child might still, if we're not fully whole within ourselves, have projections as well. So this is the only way their projection of the other can you know, like stick itself or glue itself into our own, because if there's still that internal energetics within us. So then again, how do we go to that alignment with the inner core, with the inner union, and reflect that which is necessary? Because, you know, masters always say, don't do that and this and save everyone and help everyone and entertain everyone and give them everything. Do only what is necessary. And that is so crucially important. And I'm realizing in my own reality that all my life I've been playing this pattern, and I've been having this meditation, and we did spirit work. And I said, where is this coming from in me? You know, the giver. And Spirit said, from a genetic pattern. And it's like very close to breaking through, being, you know, like worked through. But it was there. And it wasn't that strong. But Spirit said, the love that you've held for others was not always as strong as the love you had for yourself. And this is why you didn't speak up. And you felt like guilty if you said sometimes a little bit harsher, you know, way, like sticking for your reality, sticking for your truth, and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is not how you do things. You don't just come, right? That's one example. And I've never really allowed myself to be in that mode of expression. And then my inner child took over and said, oh, let's do that, let's entertain, let's blah, 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 right? But this was projection. And I've entered into that state of projection. I wasn't in the mirroring experience, because the mirroring is that whatever someone inflicts upon the self, we have to find a way to neutralize through reflecting that back. So they either have a chance to see and recognize it or not, or walk away from it, either way. But we have to stand firmly in that, because otherwise illumined state will avoid us. It won't be created through us. It doesn't come outside of us. That's the whole thing. Okay, if it's not born within us, it can't happen. So I was also shown that how now we are ready to integrate within our DNA to dissolve this pattern of projection and fully rewrite our DNA with mirroring program of source. And if you're ready, if you feel called, we can now do a simple invocation together to assist this process, because as you know, my mission is fully dedicated towards illumined union. And even though people say, but I'm spiritual, that doesn't mean anything. Because to be spiritual, right, we're all of spirit, is not always in alignment with perceiving what spirit embodied truly is and how it acts with this pure sovereignty, with devotion, with integrity. Integrity is always lacking. It's always lacking. I'm noticing this with people. Every single time there's a failure there. It's like a program within what is written in our DNA, or the past fears or mentality, that's too much of a construct instead of a spiral, because the spiraling reality is just so organic, and all it takes is this shift from the linear. If I don't do this, the next step, this is actually what Spirit showed me. It originates from a temple reality, which, as you know, it started eons and eons back when they had these temple rites and these initiations, right? You took these steps, and in just one of these books I was reading about it recently, you know, then you take this step and then you initiate it into that, and then this step. And it's still within us, this leftover mentality that if I don't do that, I can't take the next step. And actually these steps are always like chasing our own tail. We never get to the end of it. It's almost like I need to do this and do that, and it's always piling up. Well, illumined twin soul consciousness is within a spiral. It's held within a spiral where you don't think, if I don't do that, then this action won't happen and that won't happen, because divine love is the representation. It's held within that spiral consciousness, and it's just so pure. And even when sometimes people tell me I have these pure intentions, I have this and that, it's not the same as divine purity, which is a complete embracing of this feminine principle of life, or divine creatrix, which is that spiraling consciousness within which we're always held in divine love. So then I see people saying, well, I'm worried because then this will happen, and this, you know, a lot of the present now is influenced by the fears from the past. This happened in that timeline, or the Atlantean timeline. I've explained to you in the previous videos how this needs to be let go of, because we're needing to unwind and really create what is now, because a lot of people are tuning into what was, and they're thinking it's going to be in the future, but that's the reality within their heads that exists, but it's still a construct. The reality, the only reality, is you in the now. What is your life? What is your embodiment now? Who you are in this life? What you are doing? What's the mission you are holding now? It's like that. Don't look back in order to look forward. It's look within to know where you are. What is the core? And this is the only true recognition of the divine beloved. It's not outside. It's not like I have to go there, meet this person to make sure if they're my plus one. For the wedding, you know, they do this. You have a plus one ticket. Let's do the decree now, okay? Lots to say, right? Always about these things. Okay. Are you ready? I am ready. In the name of I Am, in my sovereign God-spark consciousness, fully aligned with the divine spiral of all life in creation, I now embrace the beloved within me. The beloved within me is also the beloved that exists outside of me. And that beloved which exists everywhere in infinite consciousness of creation through the spark of life is all the infinite number of mirrors that exist, that coexist along my reality. As I become fully aware of that, I am now ready and fully dedicated to release, dissolve on all levels, on all timelines, cause, record, effect, and memory. All patterns or constructs that were held within projection awareness. And I now see my fully illumined DNA being rewritten with the code of life, bringing back the illumined seal of creation, the illumined design of life, through which I exist as a illumined twin soul being, existing within the source original mirroring program of divine perfection. And as I see my spiraling DNA of liquid golden light being rewritten with this key of life, with this code of life, I let go of any constructs of personal will that still acts against the personal will of the other. And as I fully take a stand in my personal sovereignty as a master of free will, I also understand that all those mirrors of all the infinite consciousness expressions have their own will just as well. However, divine will is only possible when all these wills are simultaneously aligned through a natural merging process which the human mind cannot be in control of. And when I understand that, I now fully dissolve all those projection programs that still run in my DNA, aspects that are not fully illumined, so that I can create an opening, a space of invitation for this higher illumined state of existence to express itself through me, so that I truly can be spirit embodied in my divine integrity, in my divine sovereignty and divine respect, which includes the wills of all mirrors of life, all mirrors of source consciousness. For as I am a creator of my reality, so is everyone else. And I, in any way, shape, or form, cannot influence the needs, the wants, and the desires of the other. And as I fully let go of that, I merge deeper with my own creatrix design, my own divine beloved union, held at the level of divine perfection and illumination. And so now I see the DNA strands opening up, creating ripples of that invitation to be rewritten through the code of life in our human experience, from the level of memory, from the level of the present now, and from the level of potential of creation. And understand that in each moment we may now utilize our own free sovereign will. For there is a difference between free will and a sovereign or an illumined free will concept that naturally aligns with the divine will of all life. A greater will, which encapsulates all of the free wills that exist simultaneously in parallel. And as I embrace now this understanding, I welcome back my true twin soul heart, the heart of the illumined beloved, the heart of one, the heart of true unity consciousness, which does not need to act or be proactive to be in divine creativity. For that divine creativity through life force expression is naturally bringing everything into alignment without the forced will. When the will is divine, there is no need to force an outcome, an expression, or desire. For that desire is already a living embodiment within our divine nature that lives through our human expression. Now take a deep breath and really feel these words. I am an illumined union. I am the infinite mirror of Source. I am an infinite mirror of the reality of unity consciousness. All the programs of projection that have ever existed in any of the timelines that I personally have experienced or I have exchanged through the experience with the other or others in the polarity expression field or play, I now fully allow that to be dissolved, and I embrace the perfection of the ultimate mirroring twin nature of the Source. And the twin, of course, stands for the polarity mastery, for the polarity expression of divine creation that runs through all life as the divine masculine and feminine principle of life. Take a deep breath and fully feel this newfound liberation through personal and greater illumination, so that the true divine beloved can embody on this planet through each and every one of us who are now ready for this state of being, who are creating this blank slate experience without any guilt, shame, worry, fear that is held within the projection consciousness, as we merge with this natural and primordial source mirroring consciousness. And so be it, and so it is.